Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Gillette Pozos, and today I have a very special guest, Miss Erin Dimond. So Erin, she was often referred to as the OG online trainer. So she started online fitness coaching back in 2013, before online fitness coaching was really even a thing. She really started her journey originally as a bodybuilder, but eventually evolved into a woman a lot just like us who just wants to look good and feel good and be able to wear a bikini any time of the year without these crazy fad diets. So she personally coached over 2,000 women before learning how to scale her own coaching company. And after scaling that company and coaching around 4,500 women total, she actually sold it this past year in 2022. And now she is solely focused on IFCA, Impact Fitness Coaching Academy. So IFCA, it is a fitness business mastermind for online coaches, and they've helped over 2,500 coaches start and scale their fitness businesses, me being one of them. So I actually started working with Erin and her husband, Jordan, back in 2020. And since then, they have not only just completely changed my life in helping me build VGFN, but Erin specifically, she has really just been a mentor for me in every sense of the word. You know, she is a badass, high-performing CEO. She's been through her own hormonal health journey. She's now a mom of an adorable baby boy, and she's a really incredible friend and somebody who I just really look up to a lot. So I'm super excited to introduce you guys to Erin and pick her brain on how she does it all. So Erin, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you for that. I'm really excited to do this. You know, when you ask me what do you want to speak on, I'm like, I'm going to open it for you because I'm so business focused these days. But this actually made me really excited because I don't get to have a lot of these conversations. And obviously, I'm super, super passionate about what you guys do with your company because I did it for a decade, and I miss having a lot of those conversations and speaking to women in that way and just helping influence wherever I can. So I'm really excited to have this chat with you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, early on, just watching you go through your own hormone healing journey and watching the things that you went through, it was one of the things that I really admired you for right off the bat when I first met you. And I think a lot of people today, if they just now are meeting Erin and they look at you and all that you've accomplished and the just amazing life that you seem to have from outside looking in, they probably, maybe make assumptions like, man, she has it all and it probably just came easy to her. She probably has something that I don't, because I think that's where a lot of women's thoughts go when they see women who they admire, maybe from a place of like, I want what she has, but I feel like it's maybe not possible for me because my circumstances are different. So Erin, I feel like maybe it'd be a really great place for us to start if you could take us back kind of down memory lane a little bit and talk about just your own struggles with hair loss, infertility, the hormone issues and things that you experience, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, man, I love this conversation because I used to feel exactly the same way in different areas of my life, but I'm an Enneagram 3. I'm very just like achievement oriented. So a lot of my shit, so to speak, pops up in my business. So I'll have a lot of comparison and things like that pop up in business. So I remember comparing myself to women a lot in business, and I would see them do things and I'd be like, how are they doing all of this? They have to just be smarter than me, or no, maybe they work harder or whatever. And turns out they had a team, right? Or, I would see something else happen in somebody's relationship and I would just be like, well, their partner must be perfect or they must be perfect. No, it turns out they have better communication skills than me. And it took me, that was probably my mindset from like 21 to 28. I had this very like, everyone else has something I don't have. If they have more than me, they have something I don't have. And what really allowed me to kind of turn that corner was just joining groups. And that's something else we could talk about, your network. But joining groups, joining masterminds, investing in myself, and getting in proximity with other people who are working on themselves and in proximity with other people who had things that I wanted, whether that was a physique or a business or a relationship, and realizing, these people, they just have different tools than me. They've just been taught, they have more knowledge, they have more education, and I can also acquire that. So I think it was right around 28 years old where I turned the corner and I said, I'm just going to go at life with that. I'm just going to assume that everybody who has something that I don't have I can get it. I just need to start asking the right questions. And so at 28 is when I went through a divorce. I got rid of a business that I owned, a gym, and I realized like, okay, this isn't the direction I want my life to be moving in anymore. And I joined a mastermind. I really like just radically said, I'm just gonna start doing things differently because the way I've been doing life hasn't been working out well for me so far. Right around that time too, I started having just a lot of stuff pop up that in hindsight, I had been writing off as normal for probably 3 years, ever since I had started chronically dieting. So I started competing when I was, probably 24 or 25 years old in 2013. Started competing, jumped all in, was like, all right, well, if I have a coach, I'm just going to do what they say. And we just didn't have a lot of the research and knowledge floating around today like we did back then. So followed your typical bro diet. I think I ate less than 1,400 calories actually in 1 year. In 2013, I competed 7 times and I was only off of dieting 3 months of that whole year. So out of the whole year, only 3 months was I barely at maintenance. It probably wasn't even doing it then because I didn't understand. I didn't understand the importance of reverse dieting and that you can't be on a diet forever, especially that kind of diet. So that's where the root of my issues started, and dealing with just brain fog, insomnia, all these things that I was just writing off as normal. And then it really started to get to me in 2017, 2018, during my divorce. That was just extra stress piled on top of chronic diet. And it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And my body was like, if you're not going to listen to the insomnia, if you're not going to listen to the acne, if you're not going to listen to the bloating, you're going to start losing your hair. Maybe you'll pay attention finally. So I started dealing with a lot of hair loss. And at that point, I actually became really concerned. I was like, do I have cancer? Do I have a thyroid issue? What's going on? My body's obviously screaming at me, giving me all kinds of signals. I went to pretty much every specialist that you could think of. I went to a dermatologist and an endocrinologist. My labs came back normal, which now I know is not optimal. And I just kept being told, like, you're fine. Maybe you could reduce caffeine, is something my primary care doctor told me. And now I look back and I'm like, yeah, no shit. I told you I was drinking like 6 cups of coffee a day. But it was just like, yeah, that might be why you're anxious. She also gave me, she put me on an anxiety med, which something about my gut told me, don't take this. There's something else that you can do. And so, yeah, that started my just uncovering and questioning, this can't be normal. This can't be normal. And getting more into like the holistic functional side of things. And so that was kind of a pivot that I started taking my career, because I had felt like I'd influenced so many women down the track that I was on, because I documented that whole journey of competing and team no days off and just the bodybuilding culture back then. And so I felt like I really had to go all in and be like, yo guys, I fucked up. Sorry if you were following me and I fucked all of you up. This is the direction that we need to move in, and the questions we need to start asking now.
Man, I've heard your story before. I know it well, but it's still great to even hear these things. Like, it always brings up new realizations for myself, and hearing the things that you went through. I can even look back and recognize of my early days when I first started really showing up online and sharing my story and starting to take on coaching clients. At that time, I was doing CrossFit 5-6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, working out really hard. And I was encouraging those types of things. And I think back now and I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't mess anybody up with those kinds of just really terrible recommendations of just overstressing your body, which is ultimately what it sounds like you were going through. You went through a divorce, you sold your business, you were competing. I mean, what did you say, 7 times in a year? Crazy not to take that time off and actually allow your body to recover, which we now know is so important. And all of that is just a mix of physiological and perceived stressors on your body. So it makes sense that your body would start to break down. I guess I'm curious, Erin. So like, I always like to think about the statement of like, our experiences shape us. And I know you believe this to be true, knowing where you're at now. You probably would agree with the fact that you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't go through all of the shit that you went through. But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on how your struggles and your experiences with your body and your hormone journey and all the stress that you went through, how did it really change you into the person that you are today?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I want to comment on one thing that you said about, because back when you started your journey too, we this is the best way it was ever explained to me, is a lot of coaching stemmed from, it was a male dominated industry for a really long time, especially in bodybuilding and CrossFit and all these places that it came from. And so basically the way the coaching industry first evolved 10 years ago, because it's a relatively new industry, is okay, so women are smaller than men. So let's just treat them like small men. And we are not small men, so we don't have the amount of testosterone. So we just simply can't keep up with the constant training, the things that men can get away with. So it's not that we like, I would say only in the last 5 years, like if you're lucky enough to have a coach like Vanessa, she's and her team, she's so evolved on that side, because people only started thinking this way 4 or 5 years ago, where we started going, women have hormones, and like Dr. Jolene Brighton paved the way for a lot of like, well, we have hormones and then we're on birth control. So we're basically on hormone replacement. And did you think of this? And did you think of this? So it's really awesome to have seen the industry evolve to what it is. And I try to give myself a little bit of grace. It's like, I just had the tools that I had, that my mentors had taught me. And I'll be so curious to see where the industry is 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But what I love is that women are finally questioning things. They're like, could I feel better? Do I have to listen to my doctor say this? Because our systems are so complex, so much more complex than any one of your specialty doctors even knows, because the way just everything speaks to everything, and you know your body best. So anyway, that gets me really excited to just think about where things are going. But to answer your question, yeah, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I prefer the struggle. I prefer to really learn things the hard way, because I do feel like every experience has then shaped me to handle the next thing. 10 years ago, if you would have told me, hey, you're going to be managing the size company that you have right now with the amount of people that you have, and you're going to have a baby and 3 dogs, and one of them is going to have double ACL surgery, and you're going to have this going on and that going on, I would have just been like, there's no way. A year ago, I would have been like, there's absolutely no way. And I think the only way that you build resiliency and that type of armor is going through it. So had a lot of experiences between 25 and now I'm 35. The last 10 years, I feel like I've been able to cram, some people take some 30, 40 years of life experience into that. And it's been a really good shift for me in the last 5 years to be able to be like, anytime a problem comes up, say, awesome, cool. Like what armor am I now building from this? What set of skills will I have on the other side of this? I've been able to really shift my lens to like, great, my peers aren't dealing with this, which is going to put me ahead. There's the Enneagram 3. I'm like, now I get to win. But I think for anybody, you can realize that things either happen for you or they happen to you. And if your circumstance seems unfair or unlucky or whatever, it's just absolutely the best way to learn.
Gosh, I always freaking love getting to have any kind of one-on-one conversation with you for this reason, whether it's just us chatting as friends, hanging out, or just these types of more like businessy types of conversations, because I get so much from everything you say. And even you just there sharing of how even a year ago, if you knew all the things that you're currently just dealing with in such a graceful and just way where you make it look easy. I'm sure it isn't actually easy, but you make it look easy. I know that I look at those things now and I think to myself, I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to do that. I would love to get my business to a huge place where I can just impact as many women as possible. But thinking 5 years down the road of what that would look like, that terrifies the hell out of me. And thinking about the fact that, hopefully if all things go well, maybe I'll have kids at that point. That also terrifies the hell out of me of how possibly can I handle all of this. So I would love to maybe go down that rabbit hole a little bit with you, Erin, and kind of pick your brain on how you do it. How do you manage all the things that are priorities to you all at once as a mom, as a high-performing CEO, as a wife, as a friend? And how do you continue to show up and take care of yourself and your health and your body and not let some of those different areas just completely fall to the wayside? How do you do it?
Yeah, I like this question because it puts me right at my edge. It makes me so uncomfortable every time someone asks because the mom component's so new. So we have an 8-month-old, and anyone listening who has kids, you just know the learning curve to that, and you're never like, I know how to take care of an 8-month-old. I know how to take care of a 1-year-old. I know how to take care of a 2-year-old because at least the first go around, because the minute you figure something out, you have to have a whole new system because then the systems change. So just when I started to feel like, okay, I know how to work another human into my life now, and I know how to be off work at 5 o'clock, and here's my new evening routine, and here's my morning routine, and here's how I've learned how to do it on little sleep now. Now it looks totally different because he can crawl and he can move all over the house. And I'm like, oh, I can't just like put you in a swing for a minute anymore because you know how to crawl out of the swing. So it's constantly evolving. And I guess maybe I could just run you through like my non-negotiables. So the way I like to think about it is you have all these balls in the air, and some of them are glass balls, some of them are plastic balls, and at different points in your life I think they're different, and you just have to identify, all right, these are the glass balls, these are the ones that I can't drop. If I'm juggling them, those ones have to stay in the air. So a lot of things before that I would have thought were non-negotiables in my life are like, those are plastic balls now, those are going to hit the ground every once in a while, and I have to look at it on a week by week basis. So what's really big for me are Sunday nap times. If I can get 2 hours on a Sunday, Jackson will take a solid nap. And I know people are listening to this podcast with 3 kids, and they're like, this girl, she gets nap times. You know what I mean? So there's just levels to all of this. This is where I'm at in my current situation. But if I can look at on a Sunday and give myself 2 hours to just organize my head, because the problems are usually much bigger in your head than they actually are in reality. So if I don't sort through and go, all right, this is where Jackson needs to go to the chiropractor, this is where I need to get my personal appointment in, this is where I'm going to get my workouts in, and then this is how I'm going to kind of time block for work. Okay, cool, that feels really solid. Then it all just lives in my head and I get super anxious about it. But honestly, Vanessa, the other thing that's helped me so much lately, you've really helped me with, and the big aha that I had at the retreat in your presentation was a work shutdown routine. I had realized that since having a kid, I think what becoming a mom does to you accidentally is it forces you to be so reactive all of the time. Because a baby cries and you can't be like, hey, chill, I'm going to get to that at 1 o'clock. That's like in my schedule at 1,
quiet down.
for you to eat. Yeah. So everything now. He's crawling around. Oh, he's going to open a cabinet. He's going to drag those things out. Okay, he's crying. Okay, he wants that. So you're just in this constant, what do you need? What do you need? I don't make plans anymore because I'm not in control mode. And what I've realized is that carried over to my work. And that's the exact opposite way that I'm effective inside of my business. And what I realized is that was carrying over to my team. My team was messaging me like, hey, I'm texting with this person right now, and I'm trying to book this person to do this. And they were depending on me to stop what I was doing to be reactive because I had trained them that that's how I work. And nobody gets anything done that way. So listening to your presentation was like, man, I've really carried over bad mom habits into work, and I have to have a clear shutdown to my work and then go into reactive mode. Like I have to be reactive as a parent. I can't be reactive as a business owner. So that was really clear for me to be like, all right, wrap it up, do X, Y, Z, and then shut the doors on your organized brain and open up the doors to chaos. So having a clear delineation like that. Another thing that's really, really helped me is there's a book called, it's either The Alter Ego, or Alter Ego Effect. Do you know by chance? I know we've talked about it in IFCA several times.
I don't remember if it's the alter ego or the alter ego effect, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Look it up because this is so helpful if you have to wear multiple hats. Just realizing that I have to tap into a different persona when I'm a mom, when I'm a business owner, when I'm a wife, and having a cue to do that. So what I was missing was the cue. I was missing my work shutdown. I was missing 15 minutes to go, okay, what's on tomorrow's list? How was today's list? How's Slack? How's Legacy Slack? What does my day look like tomorrow? Okay, done. Organized brain, Erin is done. Playtime, sit on the floor, whatever alter ego I am with Jackson, that's that's activated now. So I think doing that, but also just allowing yourself grace. I've joined a mastermind with 17 other women. They're all moms with kids under 10, and they all run like big businesses. So that's been really helpful to just be there and listen to a lot of them admit where, oh, I don't do that. I let this thing go. Or I have a nighttime nanny, or I have, I do this and I do that and my kid does this, and all these rules that we think we have to live by. It's really cool to see what their plastic balls are, and then to just realize you just have to figure out what works best for you as things get piled on your plate, and you're not going to be able to mimic anybody's life. I think oftentimes we're looking for the person that's like, oh, I just want to do it just like you. That's not going to work. It's not going to work in business. It's not going to work for your health. It's not going to work as a parent. And it's surely not just going to, you're not going to take a hodgepodge of all of them and be like, okay, I'm going to do it just like this person. So it's been a lot of just figuring it out and trusting my intuition. So there's a really long-winded answer that provides no tangible value.
That provided so much value. I'm not even a mom myself, and I have takeaways from that, Erin. I mean, okay, so one thing I want to hit on there that you were saying of like when you're looking at other people, you can't mimic somebody else's life. You have to kind of look at what pieces you can take and bring into your own life, like almost trying on different things like a sweater, see what fits for you, take it off, and then maybe keep the pieces that do work for you. And I know just from knowing you that mindset has probably largely come from you year after year joining masterminds and mentorships and putting yourself into rooms that make you uncomfortable and just meeting people and networking and all the different things that naturally comes from that, of just meeting so many different types of people who are successful and seeing that success looks differently on different people, depending on their life, their personality, who they are, their circumstances. Well, one thing I would love to maybe ask you your opinion on is, I talk to a lot of women every single day. Some women are moms, some women are small business owners, some women are just really, really busy. And I hear time and time again that they really, really want to focus on themselves. They want to focus on their own health, their own body, because they know that if they can improve their confidence, if they can improve their energy, if they can improve these things, they know it'll affect how they show up for their family, how they show up in their business and all these things. But time and time again, I end up hearing that when it comes down to actually taking that scary step and investing in yourself, it ends up being something along the lines of, I can't invest in myself when this is money that also I could use on my family, and I can't take that away from my family, as if it's one or the other.
Right. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on this. It's not mutually exclusive. So let's pretend you weren't the primary caregiver for your kids and they had a nanny. Okay. Like, let's put aside our mom triggers that come up when we talk about other people taking care of our kids. It's my opinion, not my opinion, whatever. Let's just, like, we're in pretend land right now. Let's pretend someone else was the primary caregiver to your kid, and you could invest in that person to make them feel better, show up better, have more clarity, have more energy, be in a better mood, be smarter, provide a better client experience, provide a better experience for your child. I guess the child's the client. Like, you just knew. You were like, man, I could make them 30% more effective in every way, and my kids will have a better experience if I do that. Would you be like, it doesn't feel worth it? Because what we're talking about, it's a self-worth issue. It's not our kids are the thing we throw in the middle where it's like, no, it's an easy deflection point. This is probably going to make some people mad, but listen, I've never been afraid of that. If you hate me coming from this podcast, but 2 years from now, you're like, man, you know what? She was kind of right. Like, that's cool. I can deal with that. I can deal with you being upset with me. But really think about that, because it's often like we don't feel worthy of it. It's not that our kids need X, Y, or Z. They'll be just fine if you have to figure out a budget. What are their plastic balls? What are the things that they can drop? Because I don't think that if you really weighed them all out, I don't think you weigh their swim lessons above the person who's taking care of them being that much more effective and creative and positive and having more energy and just all of the things. So I think maybe the next objection behind self-worth is often, will this really work? And sometimes we're afraid to have that conversation. I know Vanessa's not. I know the people on Vanessa's team aren't. So if you feel like you're talking to somebody who they're not a scam artist and it's not a quick fix and it's not a beach body type thing, and you think they can actually help you, but you've been through all of those things and you're wondering, man, I just don't know if this is any different. I really encourage you to just ask those questions, ask those hard questions. How is this any different? How will you keep me accountable? What does our path look like to actually get me there and get me there for good? And don't be afraid to say, you know what? I would do this, but I don't really trust you. And I don't really trust that it'll work, because that's how you get the real answers. I think a lot of times we're afraid to have those hard conversations. So we're just like, oh, I can't afford it. Or, oh, I have to buy this for my kids or whatever. But in the back of our mind, we're saying, I would buy this if I were sure that it would actually help me feel that way. But this thing you're saying, Erin, about feeling 30% better, like I've never experienced that in my life. I don't even know if that's a thing. I promise you it's a thing. Coming from someone who just dealt with brain fog for 5 years and just bloating and not knowing what it was like to get a good night's sleep and just be optimal. Now that I've been on both sides, when I feel shitty, like I kind of do right now, I'm going back on my hormonal journey as I just weaned from breastfeeding last month. I feel really guilty. I feel like I'm taking away from my kid and my family and my potential and my team. I'm like, I'm not operating. I could have an extra 30%. And for me, the extra 30% is worth tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, I would give you anything to feel great, because that's all that we have.
Man, so many bombs are being dropped here. I am just, honestly, Erin, I am so in admiration of just your perspective and your willingness to challenge people on these things, because I know these are hard things to face within yourself. And it seems like a lot of women are almost stuck in this place of, I'd rather just continue to hang with the devil I know than probably lean into this devil I don't. Where it's like, yeah, it sucks feeling this way in my body. It sucks being low energy and having brain fog and not wanting to get dressed up because I don't feel confident. And like, I can complain about these things all day long, but at least I know how that feels. And I'm like, like life is fine enough. Like it sucks, but like I can keep going in this direction because I already know how this feels, as opposed to what you were saying of leaning into discomfort, investing in yourself, potentially maybe putting yourself on the line financially. It's really, really scary. But I think you can attest to the fact that nothing changes if nothing changes. And you've put yourself into scary, uncomfortable situations time and time again. And that's why you're here talking to me. That's why you can speak as a success story of what it looks like to be a successful, high-performing CEO and mom, and all these amazing just accolades that you have, is because of all the challenges that you've put yourself through. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I feel like I could go down that rabbit hole for a while.
Yeah. There's something said at the beginning about complaining and the devil that you know. And it reminded me of when Jordan and I first met. So this was in 2018, and that's Jordan is my business partner in IFCA and my husband. And I remember him calling me out about my complaining around that time. And it was the way he did it has forever impacted me. I was complaining about my divorce and the gym and all these things that were very justifiable to complain about. But I kept circling it. And he goes, pay attention to how you feel when you bring these things up. He's like, you probably get an adrenaline response. It probably gives you a lot of energy, and that probably feels good in some ways. And I was like, no, it doesn't feel good. Like my life is miserable. What are you talking about? And then I started paying attention to it, and I'm like, he's kind of right. I would look for that little hit of dopamine throughout the day, and I would text my girls group chat, and then they would be all like, fuck him. I can't believe he's doing this to you, blah, blah, blah. And I was getting caught in the stimulation from that. And it's just the way our brains are wired. We're going to find it somewhere. And so we all know people in our life who lean towards drama. Well, that's no different than me leaning towards a business problem to try to figure out, because either way, you're getting some type of payoff from it. And so I was just so thankful for him pointing that out, because I didn't realize that that's what I was getting from it. Every single thing that we do in our life, we get some sort of payoff from it. So you being stuck at a certain weight and you've been there forever, there's a reason that you're staying stuck. You're getting some sort of payoff from it. And it might be the craziest thing that you can't even pull out of your subconscious. It could be the fact that your mom has been 20 pounds overweight her whole life. And if you lose this weight, she's jealous of you and you're no longer relatable to her, or, who knows what, maybe there's someone in your life and you don't understand why. But I would just start asking, okay, so this circumstance in my life that's quote unquote bad, I have the ability to change it, whether it's financial, your health, relationship, you have complete control of your life, and you're not. Why? Okay, cool. So now give me all the excuses why. You don't have the money, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have that. But then ask yourself really why, because you can also get yourself out of those things. Yeah, it's harder for some people than others, but you get to choose the victim mindset, and you get to choose to keep saying, well, because of this, because of this, because of this. What if you start looking at the other side, the positive side, and just a really simple practice to do that? Because this isn't easy, guys. It's not like, oh, just wake up in the morning and change your mind. Just wake up in the morning and be positive. It doesn't really work like that. It's a whole rewiring of your brain. But a really easy way that you can start doing that is a daily gratitude practice. If you wake up in the morning and I challenge you for the first week that you do this, choose 20 things that you're grateful for and make it a little game that you can't repeat the 20 things for 7 days in a row. And what that does, it's like saturating your creatine. It's like when you start a supplement, you're going to go ahead, you're going to like saturate creatine, and then you can taper off your dosage. Do that, because by day 7, every day you've woke up and you've gone, what's good in my life? What's good in my life? What's good in my life? Well, shit. Okay. I already said my husband and my dog and this and that, but like, what else is good? What else is good? And it forces you to just start looking for all of the good. And the more good that you look for, the more good that you're going to find. And eventually, if you do this for a year, and you don't have to do 20 new ones every day for a year, after the week, go ahead and just do 5 a day. But if you do that for a year, you will drastically change the way that you think. And everybody wants to be more positive, more optimistic. So as you change the way that you think, you're going to attract different people in your circle. You're going to attract new relationships. And then all of a sudden, the dramatic or the person with problems that you once were, you're not even going to recognize that person. You're going to hate people like that. You're going to be like, oh my God, this person is such a drain on my energy. Whoever it is, Susie at work, you're not even going to be able to stand to be in a conversation with them. And then you're going to remember back on a point in your life, and you're like, I used to kind of be like that. And I know this probably seems far-fetched if you're in a place right now where you're like, okay, so I'm just supposed to write down what I'm thankful for. Okay, then we'll see. I promise. Start it. It will change your life. That's one thing I started doing when I really started to change my mindset.
Man, and I hope everybody is really listening to what Erin just said, because it's not about changing our actions. Especially when it comes to health and fitness, we all so much get caught up in like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, or all people come to me and say like, I know what to do. I know nutrition. I know fitness. I know all the things. Maybe they're coaches themselves that, we have coaches that come into our program and they'll say like, I know all of this stuff, yet I am still struggling to actually do the right things. And I'm still heading in this direction that I don't like, creating circumstances that I don't like, that makes me feel shitty. And the reality is, it's not about changing our actions. It's about changing the way we think. So if we change how we think, like Erin was saying, if we change into a more positive way of thinking, then that's going to affect how we feel. We're going to have more positive feelings. And when we have more positive feelings, we do things that lead to more positive feelings. It's really, really hard to do the things that are good for your health and your fitness and your body from a negative place. You might be able to start that way of like shaming yourself into maybe going to the gym or like going on a diet, but it doesn't last. It never does. It has to be from a good place. And it starts with your mindset.
Yeah. You start to like yourself a lot more too. You know how I said you attract different kinds of people who want to be around positive people? You want to treat yourself better. You want to be around yourself more. And you just start showing up differently. And I can really proudly say in the last 5 years, but especially I think what I'm most proud of is throughout my pregnancy and having Jax and everything, I've consistently worked out 3 to 4 days a week, outside of the 6 weeks that I had to take off from postpartum. I've just done it. I've never missed a day. And it's not because I have to, it's because I like really give a shit about myself and I want to feel good. And you don't operate from that place unless you mean it. So the way that you get there is by liking yourself. You start to like yourself when you start thinking differently. Think about the people that you really like, that you like to be around. If you don't have that many of them in your life, think about who you gravitate towards on social media. That's how people start to slowly rewire. They just start thinking about the more positive things. And I hate for this to come off as like super woo-woo, like you think about it and then it will happen, but your brain works in pretty crazy ways where the reticular activating system, it's going to focus on the things that you put top of mind. You know, if you ever buy a car and then you realize, man, everybody has this car. Well, you never realized that everybody had the car before you bought the car, but now you're thinking about the car. So you see the thing out there, the more stuff is going to pop up, the more that you just slowly start to do that. So cutting toxic people out of your life, cutting them off of social media. And then eventually you just find ways to get what you want in life. And it's the biggest hack ever. I mean, it makes everything so easy.
I'm just smiling so big over here. I think for those who are watching the video, you're going to be able to see that every time Erin is talking, I feel like I'm just smiling because everything that you're saying, I need to have these reminders myself, which means I know that so many of the women that are listening need to hear these things. So I really, really appreciate you, Erin, just sharing your stories, sharing your past struggles from a place of inspiring women who are maybe struggling with the same things right now. Before we close out, I just want to ask you, what do you want the women who are in the place that you were in 5 years ago? And maybe those women, except, they're in your place mentally of the struggles you went through, physically with the struggles you went through, but maybe add in, they also have a kid. Maybe they also are an aspiring business owner or a current business owner. What is one thing that you want those women to walk away from this podcast with?
Yeah, man, get help from somebody you trust in every area of your life. The only reason I didn't get help with my health earlier is because I didn't know anyone that could actually help me. I went to my endocrinologist and that was no help. I went to my dermatologist and that was no help. I went to my primary care doc and that was no help. And then I realized that there are coaches that blend functional health and actually looking good and all of these things that I wanted. And there would have been no objection in the world if I would have realized that was a thing. The only reason I struggled for 3 or 4 years is because I couldn't find that thing. And then I was like, well, I guess I have to create it because it's not out there. So that was the direction I took my business in. So if you're someone who even wonders in their health, could I feel a little bit better? Just start asking that question and start asking it to qualified people. It goes for every area of your life. Just last night, I bought a sleep training course for my son because I'm like, I bet he could be sleeping better. I don't want to accept, he's a baby. It's the way it goes. My first kid, I don't know this. I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to see, and I'm going to take the time and I'm going to go through it. And just like assuming that you don't know any area that's new, and every area becomes new. Just assume you don't know and assume someone else does. Someone else has been there. So every area of parenting, I'm turning over that stone. I just bought another course the other day on eating solids. I'm like, well, never fed a baby solids before. I want to make sure he doesn't choke, and I want to make sure I don't mess any of this up, and I want to make sure he's getting the right nutrition. So if you just always assume, I don't know, I bet somebody else does. And I'm not saying you have to go out and buy every single thing that you see. There's so much free information online, and you have access to podcasts like these. Just always assuming, hey, maybe I don't know what I don't know, and maybe somebody else does. And it's hard to do that because our ego gets in the way a lot of the time, and it's the longer route and we have to do more research. And I surely don't have time to listen to both of these courses that I just bought, but I'm going to do it in the car and I'm going to do it when I work out. Because I want life to be as easy as possible,
Yeah. And when you're reaching out and getting that help, that's what you're ultimately doing, is you're getting a shortcut to the life that you want. Amazing. Well, everybody, Erin is absolutely a wealth of knowledge. If you want to learn more from her, I really encourage you to give her a follow on Instagram at Erin Dimond Fitness. And if you're a fitness coach or an aspiring fitness coach, you want to be someone who coaches women and makes impact in their lives like I so wonderfully and gratefully get to do, all because of Erin helped me get started. I really, really encourage that you do reach out to her as well. You can also follow along at Impact Fitness Coaching Academy on Instagram. And she can really help you out there. They have a ton of free resources as well. So really encourage you to check them out. But Erin, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us and really share your knowledge, your experience. I know this is going to help so many women out there. So thank you so, so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to say one last thing. As somebody who has seen Vanessa grow this company from day one, and I've seen a lot of companies, I've helped a lot of them. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you're looking for a sign and you're waiting for the right time, you wouldn't be in any better hands than with her and her team. Like I said, I've seen the ins and the outs. They care so much. They really know what they're doing. And like I said, I've seen a lot of companies. We've helped 2,500 of them through IFCA. So she is the real deal. If you have this, I couldn't have imagined knowing the solution to my problems and not moving forward with it. So just do it, pull the trigger. You will feel 30% better. I promise you. You don't even know what that means, but you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe I was just dealing with that brain fog. Didn't even know what it felt like to feel good. So if you're looking for a sign, here's your sign. Move forward, do it, pay their team money. It'll be the best investment you've ever made in your life.
Well, if that was the sign you needed, you can always look in the show notes for a link to reach out to me or a link to apply for our one-on-one coaching program. And we can chat and see if we can give you the help or what that would look like for you. But again, Erin, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really, really appreciate it. This has been an amazing podcast. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening again. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.